Hello everyone, this is the Southern Hellenic. I am back with another video. So in today's video, I am going to be talking about the god Dionysus. Now, I have decided that once a week I'm going to do a god video, the reason for this is I want to have a library of videos about each Olympian and minor god, and about the nymphs and the fates and all that type of stuff, to give people that are new to Hellenism a much better understanding of these different deities. And I will not be using Wikipedia for my videos. I'm actually going to be using Britannia.com for my information, because it is a more, a more valid or more respectable site than Wikipedia. The major problem I have with Wikipedia is that you can actually edit other people's entries. So if you don't like how an entry was worded, you can change it, and it totally destroys the legitimacy of the information. In fact, when you're doing reports about events and people and stuff, a lot of teachers do not want you to be using Wikipedia because of how unreliable it is. Alright, so Dionysus is a very unique and very, I would say, not your average god. And first and foremost, I want to say this. When you go on sites like Etsy or on eBay or on Amazon or any of the places that you can buy Greek statues, and I'm going to say this, one of the things I am going to be trying to do is to make an entire set of the 12 Olympians that will not include Hestia. That is because Dionysus is considered the 12th Olympian. Now, if you want to be a little more, he's considered the 13th Olympian, because a lot of statue sets, they still consider Hestia to be an Olympian and Dionysus to be more of an outsider. But the set I am going to try to do a 3D print of will be having Dionysus in replacement of Hestia. So that way you have all 12 Olympians on your altar, with a candle flame to represent Hestia. Okay, so I'm going to be including in this video from Britannia.com. I'm also going to be including some of the stories that are associated with Dionysus, what areas in Greece that he had dominion over. I am going to try to include some of the holidays that he is the centerpiece of, and I definitely will be using a couple Percy Jackson references, because Riordan did go back to when Mr. D, who is Dionysus, is having this conversation with Perseus, or Percy, what he was envisioning, and of course include the threat that he made. I will not be going past, I will be going past the lightning thief only in reference to Dionysus's wife. That's it. So, Dionysus. Okay. Dionysus, also called Bacchus in Rome, Labrapeter in Greco-Roman religion, a nature god of fruitfulness and vegetation, especially known as a god of wine and ecstasy. The occurrence of his name on the Linear B tablet for the 13th century BCE shows that he was already worshipped in the Mycenaean period, although it is not known where his cult originated. In all legends of his cult, he's depicted as having foreign origins. So He was considered a foreign god. Alright. Dionysus was the son of Zeus and Selene, the daughter of Cadmus, king of Thebes. Out of jealousy, Hera, the wife of Zeus, persuaded the pregnant Selene to prove her lover's divinity by requesting that he appear in his real person. Zeus complied, but his power was too great for the mortal Selene, who was blasted with thunderbolts. However, Zeus saved his son by sewing him up in his thigh and keeping him there until he reached maturity, so that he was twice born. That's one of his epithets, twice born. Dionysus was then conveyed by the god Hermes to be brought up by the Bacchantes of Nysa, a purely imaginary spot. As Dionysus apparently represented the sap, juice, or lifeblood element in nature, lavish festival rites in his honor were widely instituted. These Dionysia quickly won converts among women. Now, it's interesting that a vast majority of the people that were initiated into the Dionysus mystery were women. Men, however, met them with hostility. In Thrace, Dionysus was opposed by Lycurgus, who ended up blind and mad. In Thebes, Dionysus was opposed by Pentheus, his cousin, who was torn to pieces by the Bacchantes when he attempted to spy on their activities. Athenians were punished with impotence for dishonoring the god's cult. Their husbands resistance notwithstanding, a woman took to the hills, wearing fawn skins and crowns of ivy, and shouting the ritual cry. I cannot pronounce it. It's E-U-O-I. Okay. And waving wands bound with grapevines and tipped with ivy. They danced by torchlight in the rhythm of the double pipe and the handheld drum, where they were under the god's inspiration. The Bacchantes were believed to possess occult powers and the ability to charm snakes and suckle animals, as well as preternatural strength that enabled them to tear living victims to pieces before indulging in a ritual feast. The Bacchantes hailed the god by his titles of Thunderer, Bull-horned, Bull-faced, in the belief that he incarnated a sacrificial beast. In Orphic legend, Dionysus, under the name Zagreus, was the son of Zeus by his daughter Persephone, which makes it even weirder. You gotta remember, these myths were not taken literally. They were, at the direction of the infant, Dionysus was torn to pieces, cooked and eaten by the evil Titans, but his heart was saved by Athena, and he, now Dionysus, was resurrected by Zeus through Selene. Zeus struck the Titans with lightning, and they were consumed by fire. From their ashes came the first humans, who thus possessed both the evil nature of the Titans and the divine nature of the gods. Dionysus had the power to inspire and to create ecstasy, and his cult had special importance for art and in literature. Performances of tragedy and comedy in Athens were part of two festivals of Dionysus, the Linnea and the Great or City Dionysia. Dionysus was also honored in lyric poems called Deathramis. I can't pronounce it. I know I'm probably butchering it. In Roman literature, his nature is often misunderstood, and he is simply portrayed as the jolly Bacchus who is invoked at drinking parties. In 186 BCE, the celebration of the Bacchanalia was prohibited in Italy. So, So, basically, Rome outlawed it. You could not be initiated into the cult. You could not be a part of the cult. Yeah. And the Roman Empire has outlawed cults in the past. It wasn't just limited to, like, say, Christians. The followers of Dionysus included spirits of fertility such as satyrs and Selenia, and his rituals, the phallus was prominent. Dionysus often took on a bestial shape and was associated with various animals. His personal attributes were the ivy wreath, the thyrus, and the it's a two-handled goblet, it's a cup. In early Greek art, he was represented as a bearded man, but later was portrayed as youthful and beautiful. Bacchanal revels were a favorite subject of vase painters. Alright. Alright. So that is it. Okay, so one of the questions that people asked was Dionysus raised as a girl? Yes, he was. He was raised as a girl to hide him from Hera's wrath, but Hera was not fooled and caused Ino to go mad. He also had a male lover, was called Ampulus, was a personification of the grapevine and lover of Dionysus in Greek and Roman mythology. He was a satyr that either turned into a constellation or a grapevine due to Dionysus. I love this. What gender is Dionysus? Dionysus, on the other hand, was first assigned male, then lived as a girl until reaching adulthood, only to reject both binaries and embrace a bi-gendered identity that caused great anxiety to the category 11 Greeks. And there's all these different questions that people ask, which is on different websites, which is really interesting. So Dionysus symbol. This is Dionysus symbol. Hope you guys can see it. There's actually a seller that will actually have the picture on their candle. So symbols of Dionysus, the thyrus, the ivy, bull, snakes, grapevine, grapes, phallus, and chalice. Yeah. So, now that we know a great deal about Dionysus, let's talk about a couple things. First of all, why is it that when you buy a set of Greek statues, the 12 Olympians, okay, these are the 12 Olympians, why is it 9 out of 10 Dionysus is not included? At least in my set, he was not included. Quite simply because the people that were selling it or the people that manufactured the statuary did not view Dionysus as an Olympian. They were going by before he arrived in Mount Olympus and took his throne. So at the time that I got my set of Greek statues, I did not realize it did not include Dionysus until last month when I went to get my Dionysus statue down and realized, lo and behold, I did not have a Dionysus statue. Though now that I've got a printer, I'll probably print an image of Dionysus and put it on my altar. But yeah. So, Dionysus is an Olympian. He is an extremely powerful Olympian, and there is one particular story that definitely does talk a great deal about Dionysus' abilities. So one of the most prominent stories, the one that if there's an entire story that has a hymn in it and everything that I really don't like repeating because it takes at least 30 minutes to read the whole thing. Basically what it is, basically what it is Dionysus is captured by slave traders. Now, slavery was a huge market, a huge industry in ancient times. Just like it was up until you had European countries who banned it and outlawed it, all the way up until the end of the American Civil War. And of course, there is human trafficking and stuff like that going on, but slavery as a institution that people participated in, I mean, people that wouldn't traffic babies, okay, they bought slaves. So Dionysus was captured by this slave ship, and the gentleman who was in charge of steering the ship got an impression that their find was a lot more than what they thought he was. He was very, very beautiful. He was handsome. He dressed very nicely. So I thought, well, we got at least like a prince. We can sell him into slavery and get a nice chunk of cha-ching out of the sale. So they set sail to go to the slave market, and the helpsman continues to he starts off by basically saying in a nutshell, I think we should let him go. He sort of looks like a god. And they, of course, laughed at him and thought it was really hilarious that he was worried about one guy. So as it's going across the waters, he's still over and over again telling his fellow shipmates, hey, we really do need to let him go just in case he happens to be a god. Well, this happened after he became an Olympian. And so, sure enough, they ignored this guy and ignored him, until Dionysus got tired of it. And he decided to show the sailors that were ignoring this guy's begging and pleading, you guys really, really have ticked me off. It was fun for a while, but now it's really annoying. And so he goes and he turns all the men except for the helmsman into dolphins. He makes, these vines appear and they can smell the grapes and they know, oh shit, we've screwed up. And he goes and they turn into dolphins and they jump into the ocean because now that is where they have to live. The one gentleman who begged and pleaded for them to let Dionysus go was made initiate into his cult. So, one of the interesting things about the Percy Jackson series is he gives a hint on what that particular god is actually famous for. So when Percy Jackson first encounters Mr. D and he realizes who Mr. D is. He has this image of sailors turn into dolphins, the looks of horror on their face as they realize that they are losing their humanity and they jump into the ocean. And Dionysus threatens Percy by saying, yeah, I'm going to turn you into a bottlenose dolphin, even though he knows that he's going to get Zeus's wrath. So, he also wants to spontaneously combust him, but yeah, like, and Chiron's like, spontaneous combustion, Mr. D, is a form of harm. Nonsense, he won't feel a thing. Yeah. So it was interesting that he put that into the book. So Dionysus has a couple stories, and one of them, of course, is him going up against his cousin. But probably the most famous one deals with his wife, Adrani. Now, Adrani is the daughter of King Minos and Queen Pasiphae, who is famous for having sex with a bull, which was all part of Poseidon. So Poseidon goes to Aphrodite, and Aphrodite makes Adrani fall in love with the bull, because there's no way in heck that Adrani would fall in love with this bull on her own, shortly after Poseidon found out that her husband was trying to pull one over on him. So, but also, the thing is, Adrani is also the granddaughter of, I'm going to look at this, let me see. Alright. Okay. Now, Theo also attributed him as being the god of homosexuals, which would definitely go with his story about him. But he did in fact have a wife. So, she was the granddaughter of the sun god Helios. Okay. Alright. So it says here that she is mostly associated with mazes and labyrinths because of her involvement in the myths of the Minotaur and Theseus. She is best known to have helped Theseus escape the Minotaur, but being abandoned by him on the island of Naxos. Subsequently, she became the wife of Dionysus. So, the story goes, was Theseus, basically, she made it very clear to him that I got you out of this situation, you're going to take me to back home, and we'll get married and all that jazz. Well, apparently, Theseus decided to abandon her on the island of Naxos. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I think they were getting supplies or something like that. And Dionysus saw her, fell in love with her, made her immortal, made her his wife, and all that. The interesting thing that Rick Riordan does with her is, because she's immortal and everything, her and her husband take part in some pretty suspicious things. They have this, and this is not for people that are under the age of 18. They actually wrote in it that they have intercourse parties, which I read that and I'm thinking, okay, that was weird, but it also could indicate of how odd their relationship is. But if you really look at the stories of Dionysus and everything, all of his attributes, all of his, who he's a patron god of and everything, all ties in a great deal with his story. He is probably, next to Heracles, one of Zeus's children that Hera just could not stand. And so, disguising him as a girl, hoping that this would help him survive to adulthood, was actually a really clever idea. Too bad it didn't work, or didn't work long. You just imagine Dionysus in a dress, probably the full length dress that women had to wear. So another thing that he is a patron god of is the theater. And if anyone loves the theater or is in love with theater or whatever, Dionysus definitely is a god that you would definitely petition to, ask for his blessings, things like that. If you are a member of the LGBTQ community, Dionysus definitely is a deity that you definitely would have on your altar or shrine if you are a Hellenic who happens to be a member of the LGBTQAI community. But it's also important to understand that he's more than just that. And this is the big problem that I have with people who kind of will say, well, Dionysus is god of the wine, so we're going to set up our altar and have a bunch of wine bottles, which I have seen videos of that. It's generally in people's homes, and they definitely are not Hellenic. And I'm thinking to myself, don't you realize there's a lot more to Dionysus than wine? Or there's a lot more to Dionysus than him being a there's more to him than having to pretend to be a girl to stay alive long enough to become an Olympian. Do you know there's a lot more to him than this, a lot more to him than that? He has all these mythologies. He's a very complex and very, very amazing deity. So that's my big problem. You hook up, you connect with one aspect of him and be like, yeah, that's what he is. But all the gods are complicated individuals. They're not simplistic. And they are very, 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 very wide. That's why Zeus has all these epithets, because he was in all these different aspects of ancient Greek life. So, typically where Dionysus would definitely be honored is the theater. And the reason for this is that they considered the theater to be, in essence, I might be wrong, a temple to Dionysus. I don't know if he had temples that were in far off places, but he definitely took center stage in the theater. So before any kind of plays like tragedies and comedies would take place, there would be a sacrifice to Dionysus, and then the play would begin. But yeah. So, yeah, so another thing I want to go back a little bit back to the story of Dionysus and Adrani. There is three different versions of that story. One of them is that Theseus willingly left Adrani on the island where she met Dionysus and became his wife and immortal. The second one is that he had a deal with Theseus, where Theseus would leave her there and all that. Another one was that Dionysus got so angry that Theseus left this beautiful young girl that was heartbroken and had risked her life to save his stupid ass, that he goes and he causes Theseus to forget to change the sails from black to white, and that caused the death of Theseus' father. Now, I don't believe for 1 second that Dionysus had any hatred toward Theseus' father. This was Theseus making that decision on his own. He was not given any kind of instructions from his father to do this. But yeah. So, what I'm really considering about doing, since, I have been honoring Dionysus so far as much as I can every day, with giving him wine and grapes and stuff like that. I'm really considering erecting a shrine to Dionysus and just giving him like daily offerings and stuff, which I think would be really, really cool. But I'm really enjoying honoring Dionysus and everything. I love the play. I love acting in plays. And I really like Dionysus as the patron god of the theater. But I also view him as a very complex, as I said before, complex, multifaceted god. He doesn't have just one role. He has a lot of roles based on events that happened in his life prior to him becoming an immortal. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As I said at the very beginning, I will be doing these videos once a week. I will generally do them on my day off so that I can do it and upload it. And I am going to go back and I'm going to write down all these different deities. And I'm going to check them off as I cover them. And of course, I may redo a lot of my earlier God videos from last year, or close to 2 years ago. It's amazing. Close to 2 years ago. It's so weird. But, yeah. So I will see you guys around. I hope you guys enjoy the video. And until next time, may you be happy, healthy, most importantly be safe. And hail to the gods. Bye.